Ladies and gentlemen, we have an emergency breaching of the game train. We must start episode 482. We must start it right now. So welcome to the game train. Welcome to Pump Town. Put on your masks. Put on your radiation suits because I'm going to drop some serious knowledge nukes right now. You better get in your shelters. The fallout's coming. The game train is here. The Swole apocalypse is upon us. Welcome to episode 482 of The Swole, live every day at 12 noon Eastern time. And you can catch all the episodes on YouTube and listen to the podcast on SoundCloud and iTunes. Just tap in Swolenormous. Welcome, especially if it's your first daily Swole. Props to everyone making the move for their first daily Swole. I really appreciate you coming here. So if it's your first time, make sure you drop in the comments, say, hey, first daily Swole, and we will give you a shout out. We'll give you a shout out, get your coffee, get everything ready, because today we're going back to the fundamentals and why you need to be paying attention to your fundamentals. This is the most muscular podcast in the realm, because when I flex, you flex, we all flex biceps. And this is the podcast, the Swolecast, the Beardcast, the broadcast, and you can't cover the beard. Can't cover the beard. Helmet stroke. Welcome to 482. Thank you. Remember, if it's your first time, remember, if it's your first time on the Swole, remember, it's your first time on the Swole, you must say what up. So if it's your first episode, your first time ever here, your first time seeing the titty bounce, your first time seeing the beard shake, the first time seeing all the games, admiring every single one, you gotta say what's up. Welcome, fam. Welcome. Today we're gonna talk about the basics, the fundamentals, and when it's time for you to go back and focus on the fundamentals, because that's one of the most important things that you can do in fitness. And it has to do a lot with ego, it has to do a lot with movement, and of course that's leading into a lot of good shit, because tonight, premium fam, tonight, my people, it's the second part, it's part 2 of the movement assessment series. So, in premium, we do weekly workshops, and tonight's workshop is the second part to the movement assessment workshop we were talking about last week. So those of you that uploaded your video in the previous workshop's comment section, if you haven't, you still have time to watch it and do so. We're going to talk about what was being looked for. And some of you might have to do it again. It's okay. We have to tighten up a couple of those videos. I briefly looked through, and that's fine. But that's why we're going to be doing that over the course of the next couple days. So part 2 tonight will explain what you can do to tighten up your videos and what you can look for in your movement assessments, and a couple major things that you can start working on immediately to fix those imbalances. So the fundamentals of training, the fundamentals of fitness, and the fundamentals of exercise is important to go back to now and again, and I'm going to explain why. There's a few reasons, and the important thing is to understand that there's no shame in it. And we get some big fucking egos in this country, and it's very hard to physically or mentally feel like you're going backwards. So people don't, and they end up getting hurt because they don't want to bruise their poor ego. They want to always be making progress. They don't want anyone to know that they're slowing things down or they're recouping. And that's the difference between people that really make progress or those that get hurt and get setbacks. So let's discuss it. Let's get the coffee going. Coffee gains. Success. That's a good cup. That's a good brew, Papa Swolio. Big fan. So let's talk about the fundamentals. If you got a pyramid, and this is not your stupid ass government food pyramid, if you got the food pyramid, you throw in the garbage. You got the fundamentals here, and that's because, well, we're talking about the fundamentals. Now, what are the fundamentals of fitness? All right, what are your training fundamentals? Let's say this is a training period, right? A training pyramid. Training. So the fundamentals are going to be things like balance, things like mobility, things like corrective exercise, posture. Can I fit that? Good. A couple things. Just a couple. Just a little idea here. Okay, so balance, mobility, corrective exercise, and posture. We'll move that. okay? So those are some things that you can address here in that fundamentals section. Now, obviously, that's at the bottom. That holds up everything else. So from fundamentals, you're gonna have, in no particular order. I mean, this is just, you're gonna have things like endurance, you're gonna have things like strength, you're gonna have things like power, and then at the very, very top, right here, you're gonna have beard. Okay? It's very hard to get up there, trust me, I know. And it's very hard to do it well. So fundamentals, endurance, strength, power, and then beard, all the way at the top. That's the beard pyramid, okay? That's the top of the pyramid there. So don't worry about the beard section. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. It's hard to pass on. I'm telling you, it's hard, even with a live broadcast. So just bear with me, okay? That's episode 1,500. So gotta build to that. Gotta educate you until we get to that point. So right here, this is our focus today. Fundamentals, balance, mobility, corrective posture, okay? Super sweet, we like that. Now, a lot of these things, and drop comments below. I want you to interact. I want you to tell me. I want you to tell each other. I want Swole Nation to interact. And actually, before we begin, let's use this opportunity for me to say thank you so much for joining live. I really appreciate it. If you can, hit the share button because this show grows and the community grows thanks to all of you. So when you like and when you hit that share button and you tag people in the broadcast, that makes a huge difference. So the more you can do that, the better, and the more people get in here. Because right now, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes, and a lot of people don't understand this. A lot of people don't understand this when it comes to fitness, and they start, and I'm going to explain the pitfalls, and it's very important, okay? So balance, mobility, corrective, and posture. Most people, and actually what I wanted to say is, put in the comments below, do you work on these things? Do you work on these things? Do you work on these things? Which one of these do you work on? Which one of these things did you never even think about before you came across the Daily Swole, before you came across Swolenormous? If you're a premium member, before you came across premium, drop it in the comments. Balance, mobility, corrective, and posture. These are the fundamentals. These hold up the whole pyramid. Obviously, the base of a pyramid is the foundation. That's the stable part. Okay, that's what holds it all together. Most people, they want to start a workout program. They want to start doing fitness. They want to start getting in the shape. Badass, rock on, super sweet. But where do most people start? Where do you start? Where did you start? Where have you been starting? You start with endurance. You start with strength. You start doing fucking CrossFit and stuff like that. You start in these power, strength. You might even try to grow a beard. You might even try to grow a beard before you start training. You're starting at the top of the pyramid, you know? You're starting at the top of the pyramid. You got a Humpty Dumpty about to fall, you know what I'm saying? Know what I mean? So don't even worry about the beard. Like, don't even bother with that. Like, really, like, keep it clean, keep it close to the skin for now. You know, we gotta build way up. The fundamentals is like the ABCs. And here's where the ego comes in. People don't want to go backwards, right? People don't want, and I'm going to put this, watch this, to go, quote, people don't want to go backwards, or they don't want to be viewed as doing something wimpy in the gym, or they're embarrassed to do that around people. Some single leg stuff. They're embarrassed to do mobility. They're embarrassed to do, you know, mobility and yoga. Not the same thing, but I'm just going to put this together. Mobility and yoga, right? They're embarrassed to do yoga. They're embarrassed to try something new, right? They're embarrassed to do corrective exercise because they don't feel a pump. They're not getting huge when they do corrective exercise, and you don't. That's not the point. They don't want to work on their posture. They think everything's all hunky-dory. So they start working on these things, and eventually everything crashes. And what happens when you skip the fundamentals, if you just go right to here, and you go right to here, and you go right to here, and heaven forbid, you go to the beard section first, what are some of the things that can happen? You got pain, you got injury, and you have the most dangerous of all, a setback. A setback. And that's all because of your ego. You don't want your delicate ego to get bruised. which is the biggest waste of time, because I've said it time and time again, no one gives a shit about your problems. No one gives a shit about your fat loss. No one gives a shit about your abs. No one gives a shit about your struggle and your excuses. And you're like, well, why are you talking? And you're thinking, Papa Swolio, does that mean you don't give a shit about my problems? Yes and no. I do care as far as you care. I'm here dropping knowledge nukes. I want you to take them and I want you to run with them. I want you to take this and mold it to what makes your life the best. I want you to take it and I want you to make it yours. This information, I want you to make it yours. I want you to own it. But if you don't give a shit, I don't fucking give a shit. If you're happy, then fine. You can watch this, watch the beard, laugh, and then go on eating McDonald's and fucking not working out. Like, you don't have to. It's no skin off my nose. I'm going to help the people that want to be helped, and I'm going to do me, and that's cool. So I want you to be happy. So if you're happy, you don't want to train, you don't care, it's all good. It's all good. So your ego getting bruised because you're working on the fundamentals. It's not romantic. You don't get swole. That's not the point. You don't get a sick pump. You don't get a ton of a ton of feedback. It's not going to get you necessarily ripped. It doesn't give us the classic feedback that we normally think of with exercise. Like, I'm not going to feel wiped out and wasted. Although you do yoga, you've never really done yoga, it's going to kick your ass. This kind of training can all be extremely challenging and put you in a body bag, so to speak. Like, it's hard. But the ego is going to keep a lot of you, and has kept a lot of you, from seeing real progress. A lot of you, and I want to hear from comments from those of you that have started doing balance and mobility and corrective exercise work and posture. I want to hear comments below, those of you that, since finding the brand, educate the people that might be new to the show. Those of you that have come into the Swolenormous sphere and started doing this, I want to hear your opinions. How has your life changed? How has your health changed? How has your physique changed? How has it changed in terms of how you feel? And I want to know, those of you that are a part of this community in premium and just in the main Daily Swole community, how has your fitness changed since adding this? We don't want to feel like we're going backwards. We don't want to feel like we're taking a step back. We don't want to feel like we're not just pushing forward 100%. But that pushing forward 100% without having the fundamentals leads to injury. You're just adding overload and speed of overload and just weights and heavier and heavier. And how many times have I heard, yeah, my shoulder bothers me when I do flat bench, so I do incline. Your shoulder hurts when you're doing a pressing movement, so instead of fixing the problem, you just increase the angle and keep on lifting heavy. That's going to start hurting soon too. That's a shoulder problem, and you're just grinding away at a worn out joint. Like, you're already fucked and you're just making it worse. And it's just cutting yourself off from the logic and from the common sense that's going to cost you in the long run. It's not going to cost me, it's going to cost you. So I'm just putting this out there. I'm just showing you the way and explaining why it's so important. But until you actually take those steps, it takes work. It takes work and it takes consistency. And mobility and balance and those things are the kind of thing that, you have to do coats of paint in order to get that flow. But people don't want to go backwards. You don't want to go backwards. Okay, but is it really backwards? Is it really backwards if it helps you go forward? It's going to help you get to that beard point. It's going to help you get to that beard point. It's not really backwards. It's not really backwards, because that's going to give you that base that will allow you to do each one of these things better. It'll allow you to do each one of these things better. Having better balance and having better posture and doing those corrective exercises to balance out the improper movement patterns, the imbalances that you have in your life right now because you're sitting down a lot, because you're not lifting properly, because you never did these exercises and never did these things. Your body has been exposed for the past 10, 20, 30, 40, or 50 years to the wrong shit, to a repetitive array of movements that has limited your body's ability to move efficiently. And that leads to injuries, especially when you start adding force to it, because these don't have a lot of weight. And those of you that have done some of these exercises, those of you that have participated in the corrective exercise workshop and the core training workshop in my premium community, those of you that were there in last week's mobility assessment, those of you that are going to be in premium tonight for the workshop tonight, for the second part of the movement assessment workshop. I'm super fucking amped. So if you're not there, be there. I'm super amped for the second part of that, the movement assessment workshop tonight. Those of you that have been doing that know how you feel when you start doing these exercises, how your body adjusts, how your body realigns. You start adding force and overload and resistance to a body that is not moving properly. You are literally, it's a recipe for disaster. And I want to make it clear that it's no fault of your own. It's no fault of your own that you weren't taught this, because no one's taught this. You know, we grow up playing video games and sitting in front of a computer and sitting in front of a TV and being put in school and not given exercise. I mean, the country is pretty fucked up in terms of educating people how to eat real food and how to train the right way. So there's no use beating yourself up about it. There's no use, you know, cradling your ego like, oh, I don't want to do these exercises, those are for girls, or oh, I don't want to do that because I'm going to lose all my mass. You're going to lose a lot more than that when you tear your ACL, when you throw your back out, when you need surgery, when you herniate a disc, when you tear your rotator cuff, when you, let's say tear a meniscus, when you hurt your ankle, when you get plantar fasciitis, when you have chronic pain, when you have neck pain. You know, all these issues are largely preventable. There are always accidents and things that your body can't defend itself against, but all these things, what they also do is they help prevent against injury. They don't prevent injury 100%. Nothing in this world is guaranteed, but what they do is they give your body the ability to resist injury more, because if you're more mobile, if your connective tissues, your ligaments and your tendons are more elastic and more plastic and more, greater in length, and the joints are more open and more balanced, you have the ability to absorb shock better. You have the ability to move better. You have the ability to move without internal resistance better within your own body. There's enough external resistance. There's enough stress with weights. There's enough stress with anxiety. There's enough stress outside in the world. It's how much stress you're holding within and how much tension with limited movement and with just mental and physiological tension that's going to lead to an injury. And when you have an injury, trust me, that's the biggest setback. And who wants to live with chronic pain? If you're in the comments right now, if you're watching live and you have chronic pain and you don't have chronic pain, that's what I want to hear from right now. If you are someone that had chronic pain and now, after doing these types of training, you don't have chronic pain, I want to hear from you. I want you to drop comments below. If you had chronic pain and since doing balance, mobility, yoga, corrective exercise, postural work, you don't have that chronic pain in whatever capacity, how much better do you feel? How important is it for you? And how valuable is it for you to go from chronic pain to less chronic pain or to no chronic pain? You start learning as you get older what's really important. It's not having the most muscle in the world. It's not having a six-pack. It's not having fucking pain and injuries, because injuries set you back. Pain is uncomfortable. And we have one life and you don't want to live through it being miserable. So I encourage all of you to really think about the fundamentals with your training. If you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about with balance, if you don't know what I'm talking about mobility training and yoga, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say corrective exercise, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say static and dynamic posture with your training, if these words confuse you, if you are unaware of what these words mean, then you are at risk for these things. You're at risk for a major setback, because this is essential. This isn't optional. You need this. You need this. And there's a lot of things that I'll say to people that, oh, you don't need, it's all up to you. It's all up to the individual. It's your own path. It's your own journey. You're a human being. You need these things to do all these things properly without getting hurt. Or you're gonna have some major setbacks and then no one gets progress. So people don't want to go backwards. It's not backwards. It's exactly the opposite. It's 110% forwards. You're making progress just nonstop if you get this down right. And it's extremely important. So I encourage all of you, if you have not yet signed up for my premium group, because tonight's exclusive premium workshop, the second part of the movement assessment series. So I'll say it again. If you missed last week's premium workshop. They're all saved, they're all archived. Bully for you. You get to watch and catch up on all the workshops, so you're 110% on point in the group. Watch last week. So if you're joining today, you have time, watch last week's workshop, movement assessment workshop, part 1. You can do your video recording, do your movement assessment, and if you don't have time, it's fine. You can do it later tonight after the workshop, but it'll get you on point for understanding what we talk about tonight in part 2. And in part 2 tonight, I'm going to be demonstrating the movement again. I'm going to be demonstrating the assessment again and explaining what you're looking for in your own assessment. And some of you might be redoing your video just to do it a little bit better, because I saw some things I want to tighten up a little bit, but I'm going to be explaining what you should be doing also to correct it. And either tonight as well as throughout the rest of the week, going to be explaining how the process of correcting those improper movements, because your dynamic posture, not just how you stand up, not like, oh, you slouch when you stand. I'm talking about how your posture is when you're squatting, when you're rotating, when you move. Your dynamic posture is going to expose what muscles are tight, what muscles are weak, and how you need to create that balance. Because if there isn't a balance, you're at risk for an injury. And Aaron, the premium workshops are anywhere between like 45 minutes to an hour. But you can watch them later. So they're saved and they're archived, so you can watch them later if you can't catch the whole thing live. But the workshops are phenomenal when you catch it live, because you can ask questions, you can interact. And it's very interactive. It's very, very interactive. And it's like the open Q&As on Sunday. A lot of content, and it's really cool. It's really chill and tons of information, but it's applicable information. And the workshops are always geared around what information I can deliver to you that you can start applying, like literally in your life right away, either with the test, with nutrition, with exercise, all that stuff. Okay? So fundamentals, people. Second part of the movement assessment workshop is tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And like I said, it's part 2. Going to be explaining what we were looking for in that movement assessment test from last week's workshop and giving you the tools you need to start balancing, correcting it, which is going to help you move, which is going to help your strength, it's going to help your endurance, it's going to help your power, it's going to help your mobility, all these things it's going to help with. So super, 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 super important. Don't leave your fundamentals behind. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 482 of the Daily Mother Swole, the most muscular Swolecast, Beardcast broadcast in the realm. Because when I flex, you flex. We all flex our biceps. And if you're good and you support the Swole and you keep on watching, maybe someday I'll help you get to that beard level. So keep watching, keep sharing. Make sure after the broadcast stops going live, tag someone in the comments. This is great info. This is great content, and people need to know this. Those of you that in your life that are into fitness or that have chronic injuries, they need to know about this, because it is a game changer. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow for episode 483. Remember, all the episodes right here live, 12 noon Eastern time for the Daily Swole. You can catch all the episodes also on YouTube, and listen to the podcast on SoundCloud and iTunes. Just type in Swolenormous in SoundCloud or iTunes. You can listen to every single episode in addition to other awesome audio content. I'll see some of you on Instagram. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Instagram stories for additional motivation and inspiration. Don't miss it. Be there, or be square, or be beardless, or be swoleless. I would hate to see that happen to you. Peace, my geese. Deuce, my goose. See you mañana. And see a lot more of you for tonight's premium workshop at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Link is in the description. Premium.swolenormous.com. Click it. 7-day trial. Join us in the workshop. Be there. Be a part of the community. Let's fucking get it. Peace out.